But hello there, old timers. Hey, friend Hotel. I'm back, and I've got plenty of burrows for everyone. Oh, you got a notification. Good. That's good. It's important to keep people notified, or else they will be lacking in notice.
Host Eric, could I have one of your famous joints?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is this the last bag of this we got?
No.
We have one more bag?
Yeah, we have one more.
We've cashed 2 bags.
Okay, then we have 2 more.
So we have this one and one more?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi, Octavia Silva. Have you got a cold? Is that why you have a white thing attached to your nose with squinty eyes? Or are you saying, this is what I think of your handkerchief? You wanted to talk to me? Oh, you want to talk to me? What do you want to talk to me about? When did you want to talk to me? Did you alert me to this fact at any point? Let's see when you texted me. Or if you texted me. Oh, yeah, you did. I was just like, look at my magnifying glass. Well, it was actually 2 hours ago. My bad. What was I doing 2 hours ago? Oh, I think I was watching football with my dad. Yeah, I wanted to spend some time with my dad, and I'm glad I did. So, anywho, what your type will never explain. It'll never explain why your mom's such a hoe. I'm joking. I'm joking, Octavia mom. Your mom is not like Octavia Silva. Your mom is a wonderful, wonderful lady. She is known as the Marion Otis of her generation. You remember Marion Otis from the earlier cemetery video. What can typology never really explain? It can never really explain why it pisses you off so much when somebody is in front of you driving down the street and you're going to go into McDonald's, and then all of a sudden they decide they're going to go to McDonald's right in front of you. Typology will never be able to explain why that's so irritating. You knew when you were driving up the street that anybody in front of you could potentially turn into that McDonald's and get in line in front of you. So why is it so annoying when it happens? It shouldn't surprise you that much. Typology can't explain that. Typology can't explain the wonder in a young child's eyes as they gaze at a Christmas tree on Halloween Eve for Thanksgiving for the first time. Typology can't explain why some people are like jazz hands and some people are like no jazz hands. How long do you think you'll be streaming? I want to talk after. I'm going to be streaming for 45 to 90 minutes probably. Possibly extended into the 120-minute range. Probably not, though. What's your likely endurance for the rest of the evening? Do you have 90 minutes left in you to wait until you talk to me? Or is the urgency of your talk so overwhelming that in 90 minutes you'll be dead? If so, then, if necessary, I could stop the stream at 85 minutes.
I'll consider a review.
Mm-hmm. Saving your life by 5 minutes. What was I doing right? Rolling Rachel a joint. See, Octavia Silva, you and your talking needs have interrupted me in my important business of rolling Rachel another joint.
At this point, I can't disagree.
Well, You want to piss off Rachel. I think we know how to do that. Taking away Rachel's weed is like taking away a mama bear's bear cub. It gets you mauled.
I'm sorry, Octavia. You know I heart you.
Someday, once again, Grass Eater, we will have 3-hour-long streams. But today may or may not be that day. It's hard to say. The only way I can say is first to eat some hay, which I'm not going to do because I am carnivorous. Like a tiger in the jungle, I pounce upon my prey and devour it whole. We need to find a way to get your live stream flagged, tagged, and bagged. But I don't want it to get. That sounds bad. Flag, tagged, and bagged sounds like I'm getting in trouble for something. Have I seen Grizzly Man? No. Who's Grizzly Man? Is he a man who hangs out with grizzly bears? And he says that mama bears actually like it when you steal their cubs. That seems like bad advice. Go ahead. Mom won't mind. Just go up there and just molest her cub. That's what it's called when you bother wild animals, by the way. That's the correct term for it. If you bother geese, you know what you're doing.
Oh, you're molesting them?
You're a goose molester, yeah.
Whoa.
So it used to be that there were signs that said, like in parks and stuff, don't molest the wild birds or whatever. But nowadays, people would think that was ridiculous, so they don't put those signs up anymore. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the poos is good for the pander. That's the expression.
Like
poos meaning it's short for papoose. It's a Native American baby. They like to be pandered to. Do old ISCPs tend to have a deep philosophical focus like Yoda? No. You know, I was struck today, and I want to make a video responding to this. I typed somebody today. Another ISFP. I seem to get a lot of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he said you can use the video.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good news.
That is good news.
So, you know, it's somebody who came in having been typed by tests on the internet, I guess. INFP, INTP, and ENTP, but was NE-polar. So the test, but also he wasn't very familiar with my typing sessions at all. He said he'd watched 7 minutes of one session. So that makes things very easy. I mean, I think it's poorly designed tests as well. It's like if you ask people, how creative are you? ISFP is going to correctly say, I have a strong impulse to create, because that FI-NI combination makes them the most aesthetically intuitive of the NIFI users. So maybe INTJs are more intuitive about other stuff, but about aesthetics, ISFPs are more intuitive. Unipolar presents as, I said, can you give me I make up a new invention. It's a bong plus a kaleidoscope. And he came up with, I think, kaleidobong or kaleidosmoke or something. And then that was it. That's the only idea he came up with. And that's the only good one I come up with. You know, and then I checked with the NE to see, like, okay, well, is it the case, in fact, that ISFPs have an easier job of coming up with FI stuff, NE-wise? And the answer is yes. So when I ask him, what are some different reasons why people might join the Army? He's got 4 or 5 good different reasons. When I ask him what's a good reason to invade Canada, it's a much more challenging question for him because it's more of a TI question and less of an FI question, right? If what are some good reasons to join? Why you might want to join the Army? That's an FI question, and he had no problem with it. Also, it's like, you ask them. I asked the ISFP, can you be sad and happy at the same time? And he says, yeah. And then he describes certain images that he associated as being both sad and happy at the same time. Like he talked about pictures that have that mood. And, when I asked about like, how are you feeling right now? He said, without skipping a beat, if you ask me how I'm feeling right now, I'd pause. I'm feeling a little.
I'm sorry, Kitty.
I'm feeling good now, kind of. Starting to feel good. I was feeling a little thwacky earlier. But that's the kind of way that I would answer that question. When I asked him what he thought I was feeling, he said he thought I was feeling chill. After all, I just pulled bong rip, he said. So I guess I was feeling chill, but I didn't have an answer to that question. He did. If you had asked me how I was feeling, I wouldn't have said chill. I would have said I'm feeling kind of whacked, I guess. Where did I put those papers?
They should be on top.
Did I lose them already? Did I lose them instantly?
No, actually, it would be my fault because I moved them.
Oh,
so don't worry about it. I saw them here.
Well, maybe they're underneath.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. They're just underneath this thing. They were just underneath that thing, you guys. That's all they were. They weren't missing. They were just underneath that thing right there. What is that thing? This is a doodle I did when I was chatting with my dad. I had quite a bit of chatting with him, which was, he needs that.
That's good.
And I drew this doodle in the process. Is there a name for the feeling of feeling nothing in some moments between feeling and another feeling?
Stay like this. This face. How long do you think she would stay like this?
I don't know. I would never test her like that.
So much advice.
Yeah, she does have a lot of F5. Oh, thanks, Octavia Silver. That's a very nice thing to say. I really appreciate it. Is there a name for the feeling of nothing in some moments between feeling and another feeling? Well, I would suggest that name is /FI. I had a therapist one time who I was trying to get to help me deal with my alcoholism without actually dealing with it. Like surely there's some other way besides quitting drinking that I can deal with this alcoholism. Anyway, he would ask me things like, well, how are you feeling? And I said, he's like, well, tell me about how you feel as you go about your day and stuff. I said, well, I don't normally feel, I don't think anything during a regular part of the day. Just if something, maybe something happens, I'll feel something. But by and large, as I'm walking around, obviously I'm not feeling emotions. And he said, well, of course you are. Everybody's always feeling emotions. And I said, I don't think so. And now I realize that's just FI polar. So I have seen Napoleon Dynamite, but it's been quite a while since I've seen it. I don't know what type Napoleon Dynamite is. Here you go, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
I hope it didn't.
You smoke that with your adorable little lungs, okay?
I will. Thank you.
Sure.
I super appreciate your skills for my lack.
So, I'll put that video up. But here's another thing I want to say about ISFPs and about SE in general. It is really important to remember that whether or not something's an absolute or an instrumental value makes a big difference. So this is yet another ISFP who very much relates to SE polar descriptions. Procrastinator, has trouble completing goals or attaining goals, has trouble, following through on plans and stuff. Well, I think the point of this is they're an FI dom, so they know what they want to, what they feel like doing, and that's inherently not a very long-term frame of reference, and it's going to mean their SE is going to, in some sense, almost be countervalued at times, because it's like, I would like to follow through on some sort of goals, but I've got 4th slot TE, so I'm resentful when I'm pushed to do TE stuff. I like to do it on my own terms. And my SE, when it's not being framed by TE, isn't very effective at getting the things accomplished that I'm trying to get accomplished. I think the important thing to remember is that as a tool function, ISFPs, when compelled to deal with something in the world, default to doing something.
This is the picture that'll show up when you call.
Okay, cool.
Isn't cute?
That's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, what was I saying? Right. So, like, ISFPs, just like I don't spend my time using TI a lot when I'm not making videos about TI stuff or whatever. I mean, I used to more as I was trying to figure out the cognitive function stuff. I would spend a lot more time, thinking and making little notes and stuff. But by and large, I don't use my TI when I'm not engaging with the world, the external world. When I'm just chilling around here with Rachel, I don't do many calculations on things that can be reductively determined, like TI matters, right? It doesn't seem relevant to anything to me, really. It's actually more of an SI thing at this point for me. Most of the TI related to most of the arguments that I'm likely to engage in. Because I've engaged in so much argumentation about so many of these topics, I already know what all my answers are, and I know pretty much what all the likely challenges I'm going to face are. Octavia Silva says, I think an ISFP's SE usage depends on their upbringing as well. I'm becoming more strongly SE as I become more independent, but I used 0 growing up. Have you ever tried qualia nootropic during Sleepy Week? No. What is qualia nootropic? I don't know what that is. I'd have to Google it. I mean, I don't really need to use anything during Sleepy Week. Sleepy Week takes care of itself. I just sleep a lot and eat a lot and, watch cartoons and stuff. I don't seek to have more energy during Sleepy Week in general. The thing about Sleepy Week for me is if it goes on for long enough, then it ceases to be Sleepy Week and it starts being ADHD Eric, which is, I'm not absolutely convinced that ultimately I'm necessarily more productive with Adderall. I suspect if I were to excise it from my life entirely for a couple of months, that I'd discover that I was actually more effective just getting one little thing done per day rather than trying to get a whole shit ton of things done, So someone with an SE tool, could they really have had it at 0, really? Well, Grass Eater, what Octavia Silva is saying is that her circumstances didn't either allow or encourage or actively discouraged or whatever the doing of things to attain outcomes, I guess, or to just attain impacts. I don't think Octavia Silva was trying to say that they didn't use any extroverted sensing as they were growing up, but rather that their home environment strongly countervalued it. Am I correct? Or am I putting words in your mouth? I mean, sure, circumstances play a factor, but I don't I don't necessarily agree with what Octavio Silva said there. I don't think that it's necessarily the case that ISFP's SE is going to be substantially worse or better based on their upbringing. I do think there's going to be a range of comfort with your tool function. Like, the thing is, as an ENTP, I think it's fair to say that I am more fair, more consistent, and more logical than most ENTPs. Most ENTPs are actually rather scattershot, inconsistent, and they don't really value TI a lot, and they aren't really very fair. And the reason is because it's an instrumental function. It's not an absolute value. But because I'm a debate coach and a former debater, and because of everybody keeping me honest here on the YouTube channel, and because of the particular strategies I've taken towards attaining good FE for myself, namely trying to be honest and fair and open and, trying to walk a narrow path, that as a consequence, I will display as more emotionally open and available, more fair, and less solipsistic than most ENTPs. So no one can claim they became another type, right? Correct. The thing about typology or personality in general is what makes something someone's personality is the fact that it's identifiably the same person and this moment and then much later on, and they have the same it's like even if my voice were altered so you couldn't recognize my voice, if you heard a decent amount of me talking basically to anybody for any length of time about anything, those of you who know me well enough would probably be able to identify it as me. And the reason is because people have habits that repeat, and they have behavioral responses and a lot of things that are mixtures of particulars and configural things that render them predictable. The thing about it is people are very predictable in a broad sense and very unpredictable in a particular sense. So you can broadly anticipate that I will be putting up more videos talking about random stuff. I will be answering philosophy questions and typology questions, and that will be challenging people or getting challenged by people about this or that, and getting argumentative sometimes, and sometimes I'll be avoidant, and sometimes I'll be but you can basically guess what I'm going to be. It's not like all of a sudden I'm going to start all of a sudden I'm going to start talking about the importance of getting to know your pain self, your joy self, and your curiosity self, or whatever. Like, I'm not going to become an INFP. I mean, if you try to act like another type, it will become exhausting because it isn't natural for you and take more energy. It depends. I would agree with you, Eric Moore. But what I would say is, if you think that acting like another type means demonstrating some behavioral correlates, then it's not impossible. So, for example, I'm pretty sure DJ Granville is actually an ESFP, but he's doing a pretty good job on his channel of acting like an ENTJ. A good enough job on his channel of acting like an ENTJ that I could not type police arrest him for a type crime. So the thing is, he's not actually paying attention by an ENTJ stack. He's just imitating ENTJ behavioral correlates that he reads about in types, or he learns about ENTJs and then acts like that and becomes increasingly convincing at it, I don't doubt. I mean, the thing is, it's not like ESFPs don't get better at faking whatever type they think they are. They do. They get better at it. Brittany got better at faking ENTP after a while. He can put into words something that would take me 20 minutes to say and no one would still understand it. It'd take me 40 minutes to say, and even fewer people will understand it. I don't think you would be able to live like this in your normal everyday life. You have to be conscious of your thinking process constantly, and that would be practically impossible. Oh, I agree with you that if you're talking about carrying on moment by moment throughout your entire day, regardless of circumstance and stuff, it would be almost impossible to sustain the act in ways that wouldn't reveal your actual type. But if you're just making videos and you can conscribe the amount of data being available.
Oh, it's a poo-poo.
Yeah, C.S. Joseph makes a lot of money being a purported ENTP. That's how you know he's not really one. I make not hardly any money being a real ENTP. That's how you know I'm a real one.
Yeah, that is. Oh my god. No.
Your joints on the other side of the pillow. Just lift up the pillow a little bit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, after all of that,
hey, well,
bugging you.
You got the paper. You found the papers. I found the joint.
Good teamwork. We really are.
I knew exactly what was happening there. I just saw your facial expression. I knew
really
exactly what was happening.
Complete me.
Y'all are really goth for sure.
I complete her. Okay. Her teacher handed her back to herself and said, "This work is incomplete."
Mm-hmm.
She came to me and said, here. Now she's complete.
It's true.
I apparently was also incomplete. Naturally, this is a biconditional relationship. So,
naturally? Aww.
Sean O'Neill, you're the best in the chatter biz.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sean
my friend,
O'Neill.
you are a gentleman, a scholar, and a giver of fine super chats.
Yes, you are.
This bomb rip is going out to you. I'm going to transubstantiate this bomb rip to Sean.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to experience any of the head impacts of this bomb rip because they're all going to Sean. But I will process all the smoke with my lungs. So Sean's lungs don't have to process any of the smoke. This is a win-win for Sean. He gets all the high, none of the smoke, none of the cough. Okay. So I want you to let us know. Would you deem this high more earthy or more heady? I couldn't feel it, like I said, but I think that might have been a bit of a bell ringer.
Yeah.
Is this type stuff even real? Man. What do you mean by real? Yeah, sure it is. It's realer than most anything else out there. You know, it's like, it depends what you want to compare it against. Is it as real as the laws of thermodynamics? No, because those things are purely physical phenomena that you can test and enjoy the law of non-contradiction to help you determine things about them. But it certainly is much more meaningfully real than Big Five. Sean O'Neill, you are definitely an extrovert. There is no mistaking you for an introvert, my friend. Now, Octavia Silva wants to know, and I want to answer, what is my onion on artificial sugars? Sweeteners, I mean. Well, my onion on that is artificial sweeteners are like a banana. You peel them down, and then instead of there being more layers, there's mushy yellow stuff. Think about it. That's how I bring the wisdom to the people. Everyone knows that according to Lobster God Jordan Peterson, the real personality mechanics are a sliding scale of exactly 5 attributes that you should aim to change in a certain way over time. Right, of course I'll rely on him, because the key thing psychology has to tell us about personality is, hey, there is something wrong with you. You're not conscientious enough. If you are, then you aren't creative enough. And if you are that too, then you aren't neurotic enough.
You know all.
Mm-hmm. It is a troubling subject, isn't it? Yes, Desert INTJ. My family was military and in the church, so we have extensive records to have helped with this. You were in the Onion Church? International Church of Onions is a church. It's a Christian denomination. It's a Christian sect. It's basically the same exact thing as the Lutherans, except they consider onions a saint.
What about, are leeks included in that?
No, that's a separate sect. The leeks saint beatifiers, they're called. Somebody, when you make a saint, you beatify them. So the leek beatifiers and the onion beatifiers have long been at war with each other. It's rather been a bloody exchange between hated foes.
It's understandable.
Okay, so wait, I'm confused now. Did you actually mean to say onion? Of course she did, grass eater. You know that onion is the third most common word in the English language? After the and. Most sentences begin the onion and the other onion. Yeah, I mean, onion is literally Curious Kyra's most common word, more than the, more than and, more than is. With Curious Kyra, it's like onion is onion is onion is onion is onion. That's all she says all day long. Church of Potato, don't even get started on those people. Those people are violent wackos. Email Anthrax, I believe you're right when you said I, the, and are the 3 most common, except you left out onion. I, the, and onion. That's what comes after the and. You have the and has to come something after that. It's onion. Every time I hear Lutheran, I picture Martin Sheen from Catch Me If You Can. I remember as a child, I had such odd perspectives on different sects. Like, I never had any clear grasp of what the difference between Protestants was. I mean, like, eventually Protestants, Catholics I got, at a fairly youngish age, probably 12 or something. I learned about that. I don't know. But other things like Lutherans and what's the difference between a Lutheran and a Seventh-day Adventist? Or what's the difference between a Seventh-day Adventist and a Sixth-day Adventist? Are they Sixth-day Adventists?
I don't even know what Adventists are.
Adventists? I think there's a subset of Lutherans. Then there's the Brethren, Church of the Brethren. That's like from my dad's. That's my dad's church, but it's not Amish and it's not Mennonite. It's like the one that said, okay, we're going to be normal people, but we still are going to try to pay lip service to Amishness a little bit, but not actually be Amish at all. It's like the twice removed from Amish. So it goes Amish, Mennonite, and then Brethren. Church of the Brethren is like, we're not real Amish people, but we sympathize with you.
I think I had a Brethren?
Church of the Brethren.
Yeah, I think I had one on campus.
Yes, David Sanderson, I am. In fact, I'm coming to terms with some things ontologically right now to prepare myself for it. Such as it's time to, I suspect, back burner music by and large, and let that go fallow for a while. Not be particularly creative or active in that area for a while. That's something I'm going to have to give up. I don't have time for it. And I can come back to it after being president.
Excuse me?
Well, I think I'm going to not put a party anywhere in my advertising. I would like to run as a wig, run a wig party, but it may be the case that I end up running under a party. Regardless of me running under a party, I'm going to make clear that I'm running under the party for purely practical reasons. We live in a two-party system, and any realistic chance of winning goes with one of these two parties. So I picked the one that I thought I was more likely to become the candidate of. But I am not interested in aligning with either party.
Oh my gosh. You know that French roast we got? It is decaffeinated.
Is it?
Yeah.
Does it say decaf on it?
Yes.
Oh.
I
See,
know.
that's my bad. I had a chance to grab the other one that wasn't decaf, but I looked at it and I said, even though it's blue, I don't see decaf anywhere, so I guess it's regular. I guess it just didn't look hard enough.
Well, it's not noticeable. It's all good. We have the other one.
Would I rather run as a Democrat or a Republican, and why?
Oh my goodness. Beauty.
I mean, I'd rather run as a Whig if I had my preference.
Oh,
But if compelled to choose between the two, I would say I would rather run for whichever one fields the worst field of candidates. I think I'd have a better chance of winning the primary as a Republican too, probably. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat or a conservative or a liberal. I'm a pragmatist who believes in justice, real justice, who believes in principled approach to government, and who understands, however, that no dogma, including any libertarian or rights-based dogma, can be totalizing without becoming totalitarian. So we're going to have to be meta-rational, practical, and my basic approach is going to be I've got a pretty clear platform about my agenda-ish stuff if I have to articulate what I'd like to see happen. But I've also got a process-oriented approach that says I'm going to surround myself with the smartest and most effective people I can. I want to be the dumbest person in the room. And if the room's larger than 10 or 12 people, that's pretty difficult for me. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if you fill a room with 10 or 12 people, it's pretty difficult for me to be the dumbest person in the room. But I'd like to see that happen when I'm president. I want to be able to access people who give me compelling ideas that are determinate in the argument chain. I trust in the argument chains, and I don't think that's what any other prospective governor, president, governor person can offer is both a willingness and openness to embrace the best new ideas, an ability to take that willingness without a larger frame of agenda, and to understand that a president is at least halfway responsive rather than directive. Is Demon Windu an EP? I think yes. I think that explains why he's both, difficult to deal with, like combative in that sense, but also difficult because he makes some challenging points, some of which are strong sounding arguments, especially. He's not, the thing about him is he's not really genuinely interested in friendly discursive mutual benefit, which is certainly a possible thing to do. Discourse doesn't have to be combative to be effective, even though both parties are parsing and things are going to get negated. People don't have to be attached to those positions. It can be, if all parties affirm the same top level value or goal or have the same basic on the same team, then
I want you to know that I wasn't criticizing you at all. I was saying it because I was feeling like such a jerk because I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have more caffeine on this.
No, but that was the other one. No.
The other one is that one's, this one is caffeinated.
Oh, this one's caffeinated?
Yes,
the French roast is caffeinated?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right?
Really? Are you sure?
Yes, I am not kidding you. Caffeinated. Isn't that bollocks?
Huh. This is decaf? Is that the only place it says it's decaf on there?
Yeah. I don't know actually. I didn't read the rest of it.
I mean, it seems like such a okay, so look at this thing here. You guys. So this is French roast coffee. I mean, granted, we'd have to take the sticker off to see what's underneath here.
True.
So let me take the sticker off. Maybe it says decaf somewhere there. That would be the store's fault rather than the brand's fault. This stuff did seem, it tasted strong compared to.
It did taste strong. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel peppy off of this.
But this French roast, this stuff has chicory in it, which makes it taste stronger, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, I don't see anything informative under the sticker. Yeah, I think nothing informative under that sticker. All right, so check this out. You're going to see a product that, 99% of people who buy this are going to assume it's not decaf. I mean, it's so poorly labeled as decaf, I'm still not even convinced it is decaf. Get off, you sticker. God. Don't be such a little bee. All right. Backward cigarette should make you nervous. That's true. That's horrible when you light the wrong end of a cigarette. Oh, it's a nightmare, huh? All right, so this is what it looks like. French roast, French market coffee. So it's old. No, it says New Orleans famous. French market coffee and chicory, medium dark roast, 12 ounces, easy open can. That's what it says here on the front, okay? That's what it says. Here on the back, what does all that stuff say?
I don't know.
Let me read it to you. The flavor of New Orleans in a cup. Like the city of New Orleans, French market has a rich history. It has always been a center of commerce and sociability, blah, blah, blah. Chicory is a unique ingredient. Chicory is served in the finest restaurants with coffee in New Orleans. And it says for bold cup of coffee, always use fresh cold water and a clean coffee maker. Use 3/4 to 1/2 the level of normal coffee because of the chicory. Add milk and sugar to taste to enjoy. Okay, so That's what it says on the back, basically. Stuff like that. And then over here, it says dark roast, French roast, decaffeinated.
You know how
But
much
it
you
says
probably pay? Like
explore our family of New Orleans famous coffees. I don't think this is decaffeinated.
It totally is.
No, because it says explore our family. This is their family. This is their family. So this is caffeinated. Okay, this is caffeinated.
Okay, that makes, because like I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, here I am feeling buzzed off of coffee, thinking, and then find out that it's caffeinated. I was like, what a fool.
What do you do if you got a hentai addiction? Would you cut off your pee-pee if that's what it takes? No, you draw a picture of your pee-pee and cut that off. If you have a hentai addiction, obviously.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to blow smoke at you. If you eat the picture of your pee-pee, then I guess that would be the same as immolation, burning oneself alive in protest of something. It'd be exactly the same as that. Okay, I am thirsty. I'm going to drink some of this water with my drinking mouth.
Oh, Eric, you're so funny.
I don't get the idea of porn addiction. Just so you know, Eric, the best onion jokes come in layers. You know, that's a really common myth, but the truth is, onion jokes, unlike onions, are unlayered. I mean, the thing I don't understand about porn addiction is, first of all, how can you get addicted to something that takes 10 minutes and you only want to do once every couple of days? How could you be addicted to that? It's like, I only got so many loads of semen in me, and I only have so much time to waste on pointless physicalities like peeing and ejaculating and pooing and coughing and...
Seriously.
So I don't... It's like... the bottom line is, my genitals can only hold interest for me for brief periods of time after I've built up a certain amount of like, you know, when you're around a woman that you're, you know, hugging occasionally and, you know, saying I love you and all the mush stuff or whatever, you build up a certain weird pseudo resentment of the person. It's almost like, it's like, you and your breasts and your hips and your and then you realize, wait a second, that's not resentment, that's horniness. And then you hump and you, oh, I get it, that's why I was feeling all like, yeah, you, look at you with your bouncings and globes, globule globes. And, you know, it's something that kind of sneaks up on me. It's not, I'm not a physical type, so I'm likely to ignore physical stimuli. A lot of times I'll be looking at something in my field of vision, but I'm not thinking about the thing at all. And Rachel will conclude that that there's meaning to be gleaned from my looking at that thing. Like, I'm looking at her flip-flop right now, so I can imagine Rachel going like, oh, I'll put these flip-flops away. Like, I don't know. I just happen to be looking there.
Yep.
Yeet, indeed. If we could all just yeet something from our lives, what would you yeet from your life if you could yeet one thing?
No. I want to yeet Christmas presents at people.
That's not really the question.
Oh,
Rachel.
come on.
No, we're asking you to yeet, we're asking you to yeet something from your life. Something that's just trash you got hanging around you. It could be an object, it could be a relationship, could be an obligation, a job, it could be whatever your most yeetable yeet object is.
That's a big.
I want to hear about it. Let's hear about what we would yeet from our lives. Diamond would yeet chores, like cleaning. I think you can't pick all chores. You'd have to pick a single chore to yeet.
Oh my gosh! If I could.
Which chore would you yeet?
Like, I could just like yeet it to the other person because like I don't think.
Yeet just means it just goes away from you and is forgotten about. It's like an empty bottle, right? It's like yeet. Okay.
Okay.
Like
oh my god, I know. In my room, I have a drawer from like when I was like 12, 13, maybe even younger. I would love to yeet that. Just yeet! Get the hell out! New update. I'd love to eat that. Oh my gosh, are you saying no to this too?
No, I'm trying to think what I want to eat.
Oh.
I'm more self-absorbed than that, Rachel.
That's true.
Let's see. What do I want to eat from my life? I've got my life fairly well yeeted. You know, I've done a thorough amount of yeetage over the course of the years, yeeting things left and right, objects in particular. Some objects you regret yeeting. I wish I hadn't yeeted that thing I value.
You take some stuff. Like you have
sometimes yeah.
Yeah, like
what's that called when you reverse yeet? You that's called wheezing. It's called wheezing on the
yeah.
Okay. You know, the opposite of yeet is wheeze. Okay, as per Pauly Shore. So like I'd be wheezing that lumber. I'd be wheezing on that lumber gig, as Pauly Shore might say.
Yeah, you wheezing on people's clothes.
Wisdom File wants to yeet high school. I agree with you, Wisdom File. Let's all agree to that. We should yeet high school.
Yeah.
It's a barbaric. It's a barbaric perpetuation of bad ideas for the sake of like education theater.
My cousin, my ISFJ cousin, is now homeschooling your kids.
Now listen, everybody, here's the key thing to take away from Big Five. When you get 100 on extroversion, agreeableness, openness, conscientiousness, and 0 on neuroticism, then you have scored acceptable. You have met the acceptable level of this is how you should be. Everything less than that is how far you're failing. Okay? How many points of failure are you short of okay? That's the thing to remember about the Big Five.
Is that how Jordan Peterson lives his life?
Well, look, I'll do a Big Five test right now, and I'll show you how many points I am short of okay. We'll find out. Quick Big Five test.
I mean, I'm interested.
Let's see. I am. Somebody has few artistic instincts. No, I've got a lot of them. I said outgoing and sociable. Yeah, I am. I'm like, hey, everybody. I'm trying to tell somebody who's generally trusting. Yeah. Gets nervous easily? No. Tends to find fault with others? No. Tends to be lazy? Yeah. Like half lazy. Does a thorough job. Oh, really? Active imagination. Oh my gosh, it sounds like teacher feedback in school, you know? He's got such an active imagination. Is relaxed handle stress well? Yeah, I know stress okay. It depends how stressful it is. I see myself as someone who is reserved, you know. Okay, so I got 100% openness, 100% extroversion, 88% agreeableness, 13% neuroticism. Okay, so 13% neuroticism, that's bad. Minus 12% of agreeableness that I could have gotten. That's minus 25%. And then look at this unconsciousness and use 75%. So basically, out of a total possible of 500, I get 400. That's 80%. I'm only 80% good enough. In other words, I'm 80% of the way to satisfactory.
So what?
To
Like
minimum satisfactory.
Is it a B minus?
I mean, it's not even a B minus. It's an F. It's just I'm saying like to get a passing grade, you need to get that minus score down to minus 0, which means you need to get 100, 100, 100, 100, 0.
Wow,
0.
that's a lot to ask first for a first from
Well, I mean, that's what Big Five teaches us is that you aren't meh enough or you're too meh.
Get it.
And that's why Big Five is so dumb in part.
Thank you, Pee-Pee. Thank you. I love you too.
Yeah, you're right. Eric Morris is right. I failed. I need to study hard and take it again. I'm sure if I try to answer this question better next time, I can get a perfect score.
I did not good on that human metrics test. Is that what it was called? Human metrics? I did not do good on that. I was below average for like everything.
Well, you also
Thank you, Pee-Pee.
The weird thing is about INFJs, there's a TE polar thing. Like, if I had given you the simple tip that when you do the verbal memory, read the thing out loud, read every word out loud, that helped me substantially, I think.
Yeah. Right. I needed to count to out loud. That helped me with the memorization of the numbers.
How do I deal with In and Out Kitty?
She's like been pretty good. She doesn't play it anymore, really. She's either in or out.
Well, I mean, we understand that it's our job to not make her wait at the door. If she scratches one way or the other, we need to jump right up and open that door. And we understand that we're not always perfect in serving her needs in this fashion. I think Rachel and I both understand that when Pee-Pee wants out, she wants out now.
Yeah.
And we need to stop being.
Get over it.
We need to get over ourselves and start prioritizing what's important around here.
Yeah. That's how it is. Oh my gosh, I gave Pee-Pee a fright last night and it made me LOL. It was the cutest thing in the world. She looked like a scared Halloween cat and she jumped right up. It was so cute.
Yes, Octavia. So if Rachel did it, I can send you the thing if you want.
I don't need to be.
All right, Rachel, why don't you try this Big Five test here, okay? This is the same one I just did.
Sure. I
Short
love
Big
you,
Five test.
You know that. Yes, Bianchi. I'm going to take this right now.
Okay, I want to take the test again there. Okay, Rachel. Here, you sit here and you push the clicker to where you think it should go.
Okay.
Green means half agree. Double green means major agree. Red means half disagree. Double red means major disagree.
Little. See that? I think I am.
This is few.
Oh. That's it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Rachel. 0% conscientiousness. You lost 12% on openness, 12% on extroversion, 50% there. So that's going to be 74% plus 100. 174 out of minus 500. 500 minus 174. You're looking at a score of 226. Yes. And that's 226 out of 500. So you're at less than 50% of what you should be.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's how I've been scoring on these tests.
So in other words, according to the Big Five, you are 174 points below minimum acceptable level. Wow. Big Five, you've really helped us to come to terms with how much low self-esteem we should have. Rachel and I are not even close to satisfactory. I mean, if we don't ramp up those conscientiousness scores, we're going to be losers forever.
What question was about conscientiousness?
I mean, seriously, we're going to be losers forever if we don't fix this, Rachel. I'm serious. I'm worried about it. My Big Five scores are low. I'm losing Big Five.
Oh my god.
I don't want to lose Big Five. 326, Eric.
326 what?
326. Are you from the 326? Are you repping your area code? Just because I'm from the 326 don't mean I like to suck fish dick.
Luke Eden, I seriously feel that so hardcore. I love when the Big Five tells me I'm a waste of a human being. I feel that.
500 here answer? You're going to have to be a little less enigmatic than that, my friend. If I'm supposed to do some mystical intuition work to understand what you're getting at, you're barking up the wrong air.
Is that your phone? You're putting your phone number up there?
Don't remember my low conscientiousness.
Yo, Running Fox, yo.
You can call me if you want. Call me. It's not like I didn't answer before because I was trying to avoid answering. I was asleep. The phone wasn't even in the room.
Yeah. Eric really isn't a phone person.
If you want to call. I'll put you on speaker right now.
I don't mean to speak for you.
You can call if you want. And I'll put you on speaker right now. We can talk about what you want. Like how you want to buy a cow. What kind of cow to buy? Buy the ones that say moo. You said, oh, damn, I bought the one that said cock-a-doodle-doo. I said, no, that's a rooster, not a cow. And you said, oh, wow, I was never cut out to be a farmer, I guess. I learned my lesson at last. Jeff Shaw is not Queen's Gambit. Jeff Shaw is Jeff Shaw. Different person. He's Jeff Shaw. I have enough interaction with him at this point to recognize him as a distinct person.
Oh, I was going to fill up the coffee. Right after this joint, I will do that.
Hey, where's my coffee, woman? You know what your job is. Make me coffee. I make you eggs Benedict every Sunday. You make me coffee. That's our deal.
I don't do deals.
You ain't never made me no eggs Benedict, Eric. Not one time. Earlier today, you said you could heat up a microwave burrito.
I want to dedicate this marijuana roach to Mercy Behavioral Center.
Oh, yeah. And especially, a special shout out goes to Judith Leland Lawler.
She's a lawyer. Janet Starr.
Janet Starr, sorry.
That's okay. That was what we were looking for. People
Janet
to help.
Starr. This one goes out to Janet Starr. Your reign of terror over my girlfriend's ontology ended in a hilariously catastrophic failure for you.
Mm-hmm.
So go and pluck yourself of your bottom feathers like a chicken who just watched Heathers, the movie about high school kids doing bad things in the 80s.
I haven't yet to see that. I want to.
We do need to see Heathers.
Yeah.
That's on our Shawshank Redemption bucket list. I'm never going to be redeemed from my Shawshank years unless I watch that movie.
You are.
Look, telling you got to redeem from your Shawshank years? That's like ontological imperialism, bro. Don't let them take co-op your Shawshank years like that. You don't need redemption. They need redemption. We're oppressing you. I want to see Eric, Dave's superpowers, C.S. Joseph get in the ring and fight it out. Would look peculiar with Eric and Dave being 6'4" and C.S. Joseph being substantially shorter.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to see that. Please.
I don't think I would.
That would be so tormenting for me.
I suspect probably I'd spend a lot of attention underselling my capacity and overselling my old manhood and try to rope-a-dope them,
What does that mean?
Well, if people are getting in a fight and they throw a lot of punches, they punch themselves out.
Sure.
They get tired pretty quick. And most people aren't in good shape for boxing, which requires an incredible amount of fitness.
Truth is, as soon as I see any kind of harm, I'm gonna be thrown into a loop of terror, and I will fucking beat the shit out of both those fucks. You have no idea. It won't be good. So this is not.
Yeah, don't do that because then you're gonna double emasculate me.
And then I have to go to jail.
If they beat me and then you beat them up, then I'm gonna really feel like a pussy, Rachel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I could do a rap off. We could have a rap battle. That's true.
Can I taunt them with my words then?
Are you really ringing me? I don't see any ringing.
Can I taunt them with my words?
Did I miss her call again? Yes, you can taunt them with your words.
Okay.
Did I call her back yet or not? Is it too late to call her? It's after midnight.
I'm going to be the loudest bitch in that place.
Okay. Which place are you going to be the loudest bitch at?
The wrestling match.
The boxing match?
Yeah, the boxing match.
Well, as long as I've got headgear and a good strategy, I'll take on. Especially if it's 3 in the ring at once,
Your
right?
call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 31077939963 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Delilah, did I miss your call and not return it, or did we already have the conversation after I missed your call on Rachel's phone? I'm not sure. Just wanted to clarify. Okay. See, it's just would freeze up. I mean, I think in some sense we probably all. Hello, I just wanted to see if that missed call. Did we talk after that? Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I didn't see a return call from my phone, so I was a little confused. Okay, cool. So we have talked. All right, cool. You having a good time? Okay, cool. Have fun. Bye. Love you. Bye. Okay. Like Keemstar. Who's Keemstar? I'm curious. Streamer docs his own daughter on stream. It did say her phone number, huh? I didn't think about that. Can you call a random call center and type the operator? No, but I did get a good tip for a type police. We could potentially even do it right now.
That's a potential. I mean, you already got the hat on.
Yeah, it's called. What was it called? Tech something. Let me look it up. Tech lead. Reportedly an INTJ. So, let me get the settings on this. Audio. Correct. Let me get me on this. Correct. Let me get the on this. Does it not work like that? Window capture. Okay, there's that. Okay, now this one I want to put in another window. So let me make this one like so. And then I'll get another window capture. And we'll make that one, this one, like so. And then if I look like, okay, so there, I should be getting that going on like that. Okay. Friends, Romans, countrymen, tonight we're going to type police somebody who is a rather successful YouTuber. I was recommended that I type police an individual who purportedly claims to be an INTJ, I believe, if I recall the chatter's comment, and has over 800,000 subscribers. Before I even go any further, let me just say, here the type police, justice is blind. We got that blindfold on. We don't know what you look like. We don't know your race, your creed, your religion, your color, your success level, your fame level, your lack of notoriety. It doesn't matter. You're all subject to the same type laws. Okay? So if you are Chevy Chase and you're claiming you're an ESFJ, you're going to type jail. All right. Now, let's check out Mr. Man and his wonderful band of renown, namely Tech Lead. Okay, so I'm going to, first of all, search this channel for INTJ and see if he has any videos specifically about that. He does talk about it in this one, apparently. So let's give it a listen/watch and see what we think.
So I had an argument with my dad, and he told me that he thinks I'm the best. So I wanted to address this. Here's what happened.
What the hell? What? I guess you guys couldn't hear that, huh? So I will put a link to the thing. You can watch the first meow seconds of it yourself and see what I'm talking about. What a weird first 1 minute of this video. Check this video out. It's unusual. Okay, the first minute of this. Okay, now let's watch a little bit more. Okay. This fellow is, first of all, I would say everything about him seems initially on the weak vector of seems like expresses the vibe of on that weak vector. He validates his INTJ. He seems like an INTJ. He is doing this weird thing with his power dynamic with his father in the house as to who's the alpha male in the house and who's the man of the house. The thing is, like in my house, that dynamic occurs as well. My dad is clearly the man of this house when, since I'm here, you know. When I was in my own house for most of my adult life, which is a relatively recent phenomenon, I come back to my dad's house, who I'm discovering is increasingly needing me and not necessarily knowing it. Anyway, so Winston's mom says this guy is messing with us, right? He's doing this weird thing I see others do on their channel. Is it intended to trigger people? I don't think it's intended to trigger people. I think that's his thinking. I take him at face value. I don't think he's putting on any kind of an act. I think this is typical of INTJs who want to resolve FE things once and for all, rather than deal with them as interface functions that they need to be dealt with as. An FE interface function means it's an ongoing process of managing how people perceive you and how you make other people feel. And it's leave it to an FE polar person to think, I'm going to turn this into a status thing, which is not necessarily my favorite, but at least I'm more comfortable with it than treating this in the blind interface format. Like, I can't help but wonder, well, what in the world does he feel he needs to establish that he's the alpha male in the household? Are his boundaries being crossed? If not, then what's the problem? So, I don't know. It could be just, I guess, an NI absolute value, potentially, if he is an INTJ, that says, well, the truth is the truth. So let me see what else we got from homie. Okay. I'm having doubts, actually. I assumed that this guy was going to prove to be definitely INTJ. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm not sure his native way of operating is NETI, but his native way of operating does seem to be it seems to be, I mean, I'm leaning towards agreeing with you about NESI, that he's an NESI user. Not sure about the TI part. I think he may be NETE, which would make him probably ISTJ. He does seem to be FE polar, but let's listen to a little bit more of his stuff. I'm going to see if I can find some stuff where he articulates more heavily TI matters, I guess, and hope that we'll get more data that way. All right, so how success destroyed us. Okay, I want to take total exception with that notion that small acts of kindness, because he's so successful, small acts of kindness don't garner any respect. That in fact, people expect him to, like, if I give you a $20 present, then you think I don't care about you because I'm rich. So that suggests FE polar to me as well, because it's like when Frank James came in here and gave me $20 on the live chat one time after he was big and successful, and after he had 500,000 people or whatever. It was incredibly satisfying and gratifying, because it's not a matter of the fact that he's so successful so he should give me more money. It's that he's so successful that him paying attention to me at all is a compliment. So that seems like an FE polar interpretation of his. It's like, that seems kind of FE 101. But I don't know who finds what I just said. Who wants to challenge what I just said about the way FE works? That if a celebrity gives you $20 in your live stream, you're going to feel very, very excited because the celebrity noticed you and valued you enough to do something like that. Or do you think you're going to say, what a cheap celebrity, you got so rich you only gave me $20? Who's going to think that?
I would be so excited.
Mm.
I told you, like, Amy Sedaris likes a lot of my comments, and like, it's really nice.
And Rachel gets excited when Amy Sedaris likes one of her comments, and I get excited too because I have a little bit of a hero worship thing for Amy Sedaris. People ask me, well, who do you respect? Who is your hero, or who are your icons? Well, I respect Amy Sedaris a lot. I respect David Berlinski a lot. I respect Steve Martin a lot. What type is Destiny? People keep asking me about this person. If I'm not mistaken, he's the guy who refused to debate me because I didn't have at least 1,000 average views per video. Well, my point is, Adrian B, is it's sort of in jest, obviously, but it's also noting the reality that Frank James, 1 month Frank James was just another YouTuber around me that did stuff that was about the same size as me. And, it's like the next couple months, all of a sudden, he was YouTube's darling and getting pimped at me with every ounce of YouTube's pimping power. Oh, was that Vegan Gains? Okay. That may have been Vegan Gains. It was one of those two, okay? It was one of those two people that I tried to contact to debate at the suggestion of somebody else, and they denied me on the grounds that I wasn't big enough. Well, I mean, because I think I can win the vegan argument. I think he's wrong about it. As far as Destiny, I don't remember why. If it was him, I don't remember what it was probably Vegan Gains. I don't know what Destiny's thing is, because I old and COVID-19. It's like I am somebody who tries different things a lot and goes through different cycles of trying things. Maybe somebody like you, David Sanderson, was in my ear telling me, you really need to do more debate stuff. That would really work our channel. Maybe somebody convinced me to send an email. I don't know. I don't think it was self-motivated exactly. I'm not eager to debate people particularly. I'm perfectly happy to do so. But I guess it would have to. I'd be eager to debate somebody if I felt confident that it was going to be structured and not haphazard. Because I don't like things devolving into screaming matches. It's embarrassing for me. I need to do a better job of keeping my temper in check and not being baited and stuff. And so I can best serve my own interests in this regard by making sure that whatever debate I'm going to have is going to be structured, that somebody's going to be affirming a resolution and someone's going to be negating it. Is it impossible to figure out your own type? If not, what can I do to narrow it down? No, it's not impossible to figure out your own type. The thing that's very difficult to figure out is whether you are one of the types who can correctly figure out their own type, or if you're one of the types who's going to get it wrong. So there are certain types that are very likely to get their own type wrong. SFPs, both ESFPs and ISFPs. ISFPs because they test as something else all the time, because internet tests pump out way more intuitives than they should. And ESFPs because they don't care what the test says. They decide what they want to be, and you can't put me in a box. You don't know me. I mean, that'd be great. I'd love to debate Destiny then. Like, it's like I am not particularly interested in coming out of a debate looking like I annihilated the other person. I'm interested in having a meaningful debate where hopefully I learn some things as well as win some points. I don't mind losing some points. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I increasingly, the older I get, the more I experience, the more I am comfortable with failing. And it's the most liberating thing a person can possibly be comfortable with, right? It's what really everybody fears. It's what stops people from doing everything. I still am constrained by failure. Like, I mean, I don't want to, it's like, if anybody wants to do something really useful for me, look into Destiny, figure out where I would disagree with them, and try to set up a debate with me for them. If nobody wants to do that, I totally understand. I mean, I don't want to do that for somebody probably, but I might, depending on my mood. If I was feeling generous or idealistic or whatever. Who's being rude and inconsiderate to you for no reason? Curious, Kyra. Are you sure you're not being overly sensitive? I mean, I might have missed some instances of rudeness or insensitivity to you. I haven't been reading all the things in the chat. But, you can always block anybody who's being rude to you. And just don't, like put up, as soon as you get rooted once, just block that person. And you don't have to listen to them anymore. It does matter, Kyra. Well, Kyra, I'm trying to tell you that statement you made is a statement that you're choosing to embrace. You don't have to always be hurt and can't be around anymore. Like I said, there's a very easy solution for it. You can block anybody who you feel is bothering you. No, you can say, you can silence somebody. Well, not block them, but you can silence somebody else, right? So you can't hear them. I know that's the case. I've heard people talk about it around here all the time. Also, Eric, in your last typing session, learning from your experiences NI, not SI, and knowing that it will work out despite past events is NE, not NI in socionics. Knowing that it will work out despite past events is, okay, well, that's just, those are instances where socionics has it wrong. That's my claim anyway. Now, you say, well, why does socionics have it wrong? Well, I would go back to the fact that they don't begin by defining the functions meaningfully as examples of knowledge functions, deliberation functions, action functions, and interface functions. They don't begin with the reality that people engage with data in different directionalities and on different fields. And so it's going to be a mess. You don't start with a solid foundation, you're going to be a mess. This is why you're solid. C.S. Joseph lacks that. If you slam dunk him, then his game is up. He will never debate you as well as many others, I gather. A lot of people won't debate me. And I understand that. I mean, the thing is, people really dislike the idea that I could claim, well, I am a professional debate coach, and that be a meaningful consideration. And people don't like that because people who want to debate are typically very TI, and that's a rejection of expertise or experience in favor of pure meritocratic calculus, But the fact is, the reason why the meritocratic calculus is going to favor me is because for an INTP or an ENTP or an INFP, ENFP, we've got to develop a repertoire of tools in our SI that we can rely on to, I like to feel as though as I move through the world, any argument that somebody's going to be making against what I'm saying or against something I agree with or in agreement with something I disagree with, if I haven't heard the exact argument before, I have a classification for the argument. And so there's different levels in which I can respond to it. I can respond to it directly on point and say, if you have an argument that says like, we should end trade barriers on Canadian maple syrup. You might argue that we should do this because it's going to have economic benefits. I could argue a directly response and say, no, it's going to have economic harms, or it won't have economic benefits. And that's just arguing on that level. But let's say I don't have any specific arguments about that. I don't know anything about that. Then I could argue, well, we shouldn't get rid of tariffs in general because protectionism is good. I could argue that we shouldn't get rid of tariffs with Canada specifically because of our trade deficit with them makes them uniquely in an instance where tariffs should be applied. And you can see there's different layers in which you can argue against it, right? Even if you don't have a direct response. So I'm confident in my ability to recognize that no matter what I encounter, it's going to be subject to frame level critiques, even if I can't address it on a contention level. I'm pretty confident in my frame blocks. So in other words, I know that what I'm saying is fundamentally sound. It's not going to be easy to make it fall apart by pointing out weaknesses. You're going to have to do a lot more offense to get it to fall over, you know? And I'm familiar with having defended it successfully a lot of times. So in that regard, I get this SI comfort that comes along with not having to actually do the TI over and over and over again. How would I classify the argument? Well, like, let's say somebody's coming in and arguing that cognitive functions aren't meaningful because they bleed together. There's not a clear, distinct line between each cognitive function. That it's not entirely clear whether something is an example of SI or SE. Well, I would say in response to that first of all, it's a category error. You've got it backwards. That a person attends via SI or SE, and then the object of analysis, namely the behavior they display or words they say or whatever, is interpreted as being consistent with SI or SE. But that's what makes cognitive functions tricky. People have workarounds. So what is normally correlated with TE, let's say making an ordinal plan and following through and solving that and completing that plan, there's a workaround called YouTube. How do I fix my broken aquarium filter? And if it has a clear enough and simple enough communication of a set of steps, then anybody without using any of their own TE can solve that problem. That's a workaround. If you ask somebody, how likely are you to fix the aquarium yourself? Well, some people are going to answer that very likely, meaning they're going to figure out what's wrong with it and fix it themselves. Some people are going to say very likely, meaning they're going to ask somebody what to do and follow those instructions to the letter. My mom was very much like that. She wrote down instructions on everything, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, as a way of working around her TE polar. I remember her having these ridiculous sets of instructions on how to use like a basic software program. First, click this. Then, you will see a box that says this. And it's like she had to have it scripted out in language, even though it was happening right in front of her face. So the point is, if somebody's asking me then, well, what about bright lines? I would say, there are bright lines. In other words, extrovert intuition can be reduced to putting information externally on a metaphysical field or internally on a metaphysical field. In other words, putting ideas down someplace. Extrovert sensing can be reduced to putting impacts upon things. In other words, executing things, doing things, causing the status quo to be changed by your action. Introverted intuition can be reduced down to understanding one's own experiences within the frame of how they're representative of universal patterns. And one could reduce SI to understanding one's own experiences as extrapolating to suggest universal patterns. So it's a directional thing in that regard. One could reduce TI to a disinterested calculus, FI to an interested calculus. One could reduce FE to dynamic interaction, factoring others' perceptions and feelings into a complex system that needs to be reduced to binaries to be processed on the metaphysical field. And TE could be described as a dynamic interface approach with systems that are ultimately validated on physical metrics, not metaphysical metrics. In other words, they're validated on whether they work, not whether they make sense. So it's like when we break down the cognitive function like that and just lay it out there that it's okay, if we need to reduce them to binaries, we can. And then somebody says, yeah, but don't you say that there's some bleed over here and here and here? Well, a map is not a territory. It is true that the line of the map of the river doesn't feature every little dip and curve and nook and cranny along the riverbank. It's an approximation of it. So you can always look to reality and say, reality is not adequately represented by this map because reality is more fluid and less binary than the map. Well, that's definitionally the case. The map is binary. The reality is not. You could say the reality is binary in terms of impacts, whereas the map is binary in terms of statuses or meanings. Causality is binary in terms of impacts because you can't, once you've caused something to actually happen, you can't undo it, really. You have to do something new to make it as it was. You're going to bed? I love you too, darling.
Thank you.
I want you to not forget to dream about eating plenty of cheese.
Oh, thank you for the reminder.
You're welcome.
The cheese will have your face on.
Good. With regards to maple syrup in Canada, always a good way to begin a sentence. Would it be of benefit to lead in the direction of benefit for both? Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, there's two kinds of ways of discussing something. A very few people are capable of discussing things in the second way. You can discuss things with adversarial rhetoric and attain good results with adversarial rhetoric. In other words, if you want to argue a point, then somebody's going to have to affirm a statement and say, I uphold this statement as true, or I affirm a plan. I think this is a plan that we should do. And the other person's going to have to negate that and say, no, we should not change the status quo and affirm what you're saying is true. We should keep it the same as it always has been and just negate. So that's the thing about any kind of adversarial rhetoric approach to figuring shit out, is that it has to be switch side, in the sense that one person takes one side and one person takes the other side, and presumably they could then switch sides and argue the opposite sides. And that's what people do in competition debate. But with a dialectic conversation, you're talking with two people who are working collaboratively to eliminate the bad ideas, strengthen the weak ideas, and support the good ideas. So most TI people, TI second, TI even third, TI first, will default to negating. What is wrong with what you are saying? I can find out what's wrong with what you're saying because I'm the one who decides what makes sense. I use introverted thinking, and that's the objective evaluation function. So I know objectively what makes sense. That doesn't make any sense because you said that you'd go to the park after the carnival, but the carnival lasts 3 days and the park is being demolished tomorrow. That makes no sense to say that you're going to go then, right? That would be a objection to the words. Now, if in fact the person did go to the park after going to the carnival, well, then that meant he just went to the carnival for a little while and got to the park before it was demolished. And TI can go shove it, you know? Is TE more likely to try to figure out how a physical object system works than TI? I think it depends on what knowledge function it's paired with. I think TENI is more likely to try to figure out a metaphysical but causal system. Like, for example, your ENTJ is going to figure out how to organize personnel to doing certain kinds of jobs, to getting everything that the company needs to get done to be profitable. That's going to be a very NITE thing. SITE is going to be, I'm going to figure out how to fix this broken gate without having to replace this piece of wood right here that's getting kind of rotten. And then TI is likely to figure out whether or not an explanation is a good explanation or a bad explanation. And that's really what it boils down to, is TI is about explaining. And justifications are one kind of explanation. A justification is an explanation for why it's okay for me to have done this, or why it's not okay for you to have done this. I have to justify my position either way. It snowed here near Boston today, huh? Well, I got to tell you, CJ O'Connell, it is just about snowing here in Los Angeles. It is so cold. Let me tell you how cold it is. Icy cold today. Icy cold tonight, anyway. Weather. Arcadia. 61 degrees. Hypothermia, here I come. Okay, I won't forget Octavio Silva. Occam's razor is kind of fucky. On the one hand, it's super useful to determining truths. On the other, things which are statistically unlikely to happen all the time. Okay, so it's true, Torvis Shepard. I have my doubts about Occam's razor, but it's just a heuristic. I don't think it's intended to be a law that you always prefer the simplest explanation. It's a heuristic that says the simpler explanations tend to be more validated, more frequently. But it is true that the simplest explanation is not always the best explanation. So, I think that cognitive functions comprise the simplest explanation for personality, so the simplest real explanation for it, and the best explanation for it. Other personality explanations use a confluence of different one-off notions that people have come up with, some of which have been good and some of which not so good. So, like, personality is explained as these attributes. When asked why, psychology will turn to things like attachment theory, stages of development. It will turn to things like hierarchy of needs, and or behaviorism, and or I guess genetic determinism, or whatever else kind of schools of thought philosophy has. None of which actually explain why. They just say these muddying factors make it impossible for us to meaningfully explain why. But the thing is, there's enough data we have that two people with very different upbringings can manifest very similarly, despite vastly different contexts. For example, old host Zach, INTP, he grew up among, let's say, salt of the earth people in the South, SFP, parents, and he described his brother one time as the kind of guy who would sell his car for gas money. And I witnessed these family members, and it's absolutely the case that there's this genius INTP kid born into a family of absolute cretins. but they were loving Cretans. I think they were nice Cretans, and just goes to show you, he was an absolute sort of philosophical wunderkind at 18, despite having no encouragement in that stuff at all, despite having probably countervalued or just sort of not gotten or ignored entirely. It's just, that's what INTPs do. They find especially with the internet, they're going to find their information and they're going to incorporate it accordingly. Have you given any thought to the idea of using the cognitive functions in creative media? I like how it sometimes prefer X, etc. Well, I mean, I think Dr. Lodgy, it's a good question, and the most compelling way to use cognitive functions in creating media is just crafting characters who are consistent with a type. I think that works really well in media. I think people, whether they know it or not, expect it. Like, there's a lot of dual couples in movies, and they're either duals or semi-duals. How old is Zach? Well, he was like 18 when I first started hanging out with them, but that was years ago now. I would guess he's 23 and he's got a kid now. He's got a son. He married this ISTJ chick. What's her name? Mrs. Zachary. I don't know what her name is. I forget. Diarrhea face? No, that wasn't her. I can't remember. It was something just like diarrhea face, but I don't think that was it. It doesn't make sense that would be it. They probably, I don't know what parents would have named their child that. In what direction does the sun rise in the morning? What is part 2 of medium questions? You can ask whatever questions if I don't specify, Jeff Shaw. The sun rises from the east to the west. So I guess the answer would be west. I wonder if incorporating all functions creates more wide appeal for a given media, music, or whatever. I don't think it quite works like that. I think that you can attain success in a couple different ways with functions in media. I was using in a conversation earlier a comparison between Death Note and Hunter x Hunter. If you're familiar with anime, there are these 2 anime shows. One's called Death Note, that's quite serious and NI, and one is called Hunter x Hunter, which is rather candy-like and breezy and rather NE. In fact, Hunter x Hunter starts all sorts of storylines that it never goes anywhere with. The thing is, I like them both. I like both shows quite a bit. I enjoyed Hunter x Hunter a lot. And I also thought Death Note was a much more accomplished piece of art in some sense, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's better. So it's, the challenge between this is the buffet that the intuitive has when processing media. They've got stuff that's very NI resonant, such as Blue Exorcist or Death Note, and they've got stuff that's very NE resonant, that is like Hunter x Hunter or Naruto Shippuden. It's got 1 million episodes and lots of characters and lots of meanity meows. Are you talking about Hunter x Hunter? Horror Shepherd? I mean, the thing is, Blue Exorcist is somewhere between Death Note and say like Attack on Titan or something. Blue Exorcist is another very NI one. I could only watch a couple episodes at a time. Well, it's very NI compared to, say, Hunter x Hunter, right? Like, what I mean by NI is there's a central theme of conflict within it. namely the conflict between the demon and human within the characters and the human nobility and human fear orientation within the humans. It resolves in fairly short order. It's not a shit ton of episodes, and the brothers can join to shut off Satan's access to the world because they love this world, which is a very sort of Christ-like reference. You know, it's more an eye because there's more deep relationships between the characters that aren't extraneous. If you have 5 cats and 6 elephants, who has the mice? Your mom? It's usually your mom. Manga and anime are a gateway to the occult. Grass Eater, will you lighten up? The occult's not going to come get you and drag you down to hell that easily, okay? Goodness sakes. I thought it was quite good. It is a little slower than some other ones, and towards the end, I thought it got a little convoluted, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is Attack on Titan. That's the best one. That one's really good. The Titans, the drawings are so compelling, right? Like these big weird looking things running all like weird, and then the reveal of where they come from and the backstory and stuff, really creative, really original, and just super compelling. I found it ultra compelling. It's interesting the things that bother Rachel versus the things that bother me. So there was something we were watching the other day that Rachel didn't like. It was bugging her, and I didn't have any problem with it. And then there's something else that Rachel was watching, and she didn't have any problem with it, but it was bugging me. Reality Bites. I couldn't really watch Reality Bites. Too much FE discomfort. I think it was Death Note, as a matter of fact, that Rachel had a lot of trouble watching. She, I guess, is susceptible to that NI being spooked out by black magic kind of stuff or whatever. Whereas I just found it a NETI puzzle kind of a show. I liked the characters of Elle and Nier. I don't like that Elle died. I kind of think they like tacked on an extra thing they didn't need to at the end. Like just let Elle beat him. Figure out how to do that. Bringing in Nier seemed a little weird, but I liked Nier too. Yeah, but I agree. I think once Elle died, the show got unnecessarily convoluted and lost its way a little bit. I avoid watching things that go too dark. Me too. I will not watch anything with animals getting lost, hurt, frozen, or certain. I don't like watching things with any kind of animal pain either, or animal suffering, or children at all. I can't stand it. I can't read articles about rape either. My Hero Academia is pretty. It's pretty much a kids one. Avatar is also a kids one. Regular Naruto is kind of a kid's one. Naruto Shippuden is good. AOT, the thing is, I would agree with you if you hadn't stuck AOT in there. If you had explicitly meant Naruto and not Naruto Shippuden and hadn't put AOT in there, then I would have come to the same conclusion you did. I would have said, well, yeah, you're watching the kids stuff right now. There's stuff that's more sophisticated. But since you don't like AOT, I don't know. I found AOT to be incredibly deep and handling a lot of morally ambiguous subject matters with a great deal of deftness. So, yeah, I don't like how L died. It was cheap. I also got the feeling that it was cheap. Like, hold on, you can't just replace L right now with this other character who's kind of the same. What the hell? Naruto music is cool. It's too long of a show. I agree. Naruto's too long, especially at the end. There's so many filler episodes. If you skip all the filler episodes, it's still too long. They drag out the end like crazy, and I don't like the way that they drag out too many like scenes of them once again flashing back to all the meaningful things that are informing this current moment. It's like I've seen these flashbacks 50 fucking times already. Hello, Flow State, fellow patriot. God bless America. So, I don't have a next anime picked yet. In part because I know that season 4 of AOT is coming in December. But regardless, I'm kind of in a maybe media consumption downtime for a bit. Been watching sports, been watching football. I watched our governor just lost all of his credibility with his Thanksgiving rules. I mean, nobody thinks anything other than he's a complete asswipe. So it's like there's nobody in California who supports Gavin on his Thanksgiving things, despite the fact that it's California even. Like, everyone's just like, no way. It's Gavin really has gone hard on this COVID thing, hard left, like we must treat it as though it were the plague. And it worked for quite a long time, and most people bought in. But the Thanksgiving rules were so offensive to everybody and so ridiculous. Like, who's going to enforce this? Are there cops going to come over to your house and count and wait there and see if you're there too long or something, if you're social distancing enough? It's insane. So the nice thing about it's not a hoax, Flo State. This is what happened. It's just like a cartoon, okay? You know those cartoons? There's a little like I don't know, hedgehog walking down the path, but the light's coming here, so his shadow looks really big. And the characters over here see the big shadow are like, ah! Well, what happened is when they were seeing the big shadow, a whole shit ton of people went, ah! And wrote articles as though the big shadow were the actual thing. And since then, they've been trying to sort of walk around the fact that it turned out to just be a little hedgehog. That was just a shadow that was big. And so basically, we need to stop treating it as though it were a dragon and start treating it like the lizard that it is, just like every other lizard. And as I predicted way back at the beginning, here we are in almost November. And when I look at the news, I see The percentage of excess deaths in the U.S. not directly caused by COVID-19 ranges from 14 to 33%. It remains unclear how lockdowns influenced excess mortality. And then here in The Guardian, U.S. shatters daily coronavirus record with 90,000 new confirmed infections. Country surges past 9 million as experts warn death rates could more than double by mid-January. Well, why would the death rates double by mid-January? Why? It says here, the U.S. has shattered the daily coronavirus record with almost 90,000 new infections reported on Thursday and close to 1,000 deaths. As the country surged past a world-topping 9 million cases, and experts warned of death rates more than doubling by mid-January. So why did we have a quarantine then? Did it work? Obviously not. Note, this 9 million cases is 10 to 26 times lower than the actual number of cases. It could be as much as more than half the population. 260 million people have already had it. It could be, I've already had it twice. We have no way of knowing. If I've already had it and I've gotten over it and get tested, it doesn't indicate that I've already had it. So it doesn't qualify me, it doesn't count me as somebody who's had COVID and didn't die from it, right? So when we look at the actual way the data is being gathered, we have to recognize the fact that these lies are lies at this point. The sobering data is not sobering at all. 9 million cases in the United States and 228,677 people have died, except it's not out of 9 million people. It's out of 90 to potentially, let's see, 108 plus 6, like 240 or something million. So now 228,000 people out of 240 million people is, let's see what that percentage is. 290,000, so 240 million divided by 290,000. Oh, 290,000 divided by 240 million. All right, 0.001, which is to say 0.1%. Okay, so that's if it's 26 times. If it's just 10 times more, 12 times more, 13 times more, then 0.2%. Average death rate of a flu. The average flu fatality rate (18.1 per 100,000 for influenza / pneumonia. So that's 1.8 in 10,000. Oh wait, that's per population. That's not per infection. Percentage of influenza patients who die from it. Oh, look at these lies. Oh my God. So 2019 says 35 million people got the flu. How did they determine who has the flu? How many people get the flu? But they've got the COVID-19 death. They've got the COVID-19 rate is 5 million. This is probably old data. Well, let's see. 45,061,000 deaths. 61,000 divided by 45 million. 61,000 divided by 41 million. Okay, so it's about exactly the same percentage as COVID. And that's, I'm sure, not the 1957. I want to see the mortality rates. Mortality rates among flu patients. Okay. The CDC estimates that influenza has resulted in between 9 million to 45 million illnesses. There have been between 140,000 and 810,000 hospitalizations and between 12,000 and 61,000 deaths annually since 2010. Okay. So, all right, 2010, 2011. Let's look at this data here. It shows 37,000 deaths out of 21 million illnesses. Whereas this season here shows 12,000 deaths out of 9 million. 38,000 deaths out of 30 million. 51,000 deaths out of 30 million. 2014-15 probably looks like the highest fatality rate based on these stats. 51,000 divided by 30 million. About the same. So we're looking at 0.1% for COVID, 0.1% for the flu as well. Why are we treating it so differently? Well, granted, it is true that it is a novel infection and can affect a vastly greater number of people, and there's no vaccine for it. But it's also true that between 14 and what did I read? Between 14 and between 14 and something percent COVID news. COVID household transmission way higher than we thought, which means fatality rate way lower than we thought. Let's see. Alarming rate of coronavirus infection among grocery store workers. All right. Let me Google News one more thing before I return to the live stream chat. Well, here's some 14% facts. Americans are drinking 14% more during pandemic. Study finds. Well, that's got to be good for everybody. 14% of all UK coronavirus deaths linked to air pollution. Study finds. Not coronavirus? It's a combination of things. Transparency assessment of COVID-19 models. That sounds interesting. Somebody's actually doing some work, maybe. COVID spreads more extensively in a new study. Oh, great. So the quarantines really didn't work. Fine. Actual COVID infections versus estimated. Real estimates of mortality following COVID infection. Just look at this bullshit. Look at this bullshit from July 1st. Just look at this. Just see the lies just drip and spill all over the place. Look at this thing. Look at this ridiculous nonsense. Look at those numbers. Look at the charts they use. This is in July. Look where their charts end. February. Why? And why are they saying it looks like it could be even worse than we think when it's been the exact opposite? All right, here's a fun one here. A study in England estimates that nearly 100,000 people are infected with the novel coronavirus per day. That means 1% of the country's entire population catches COVID-19 every 10 days, which is staggering. The researchers randomly tested asymptomatic people to estimate the actual course of the total local epidemic and discovered that, in fact, shit tons more people have it than is being reported. So the fatality rate on it is way lower than being reported. Now, listen to this last thing it says here. Without new restrictions, the number of daily cases might double every day, reaching as many as 1 million per day by the end of November. Point. The restrictions obviously didn't work, you morons. If they worked, why are we having this? Two-thirds of the 300,000 COVID deaths in the U.S. can be attributed to COVID. That's what this article says. I shit you not. The U.S. death toll from COVID-19 is high any way you look at it. And a new report from researchers offers another way to look at it. If you add up all the people who've died in the U.S. for any reason since late January and compare that figure to the tally from previous years, you'll find that there have been roughly 300,000 excess deaths since the coronavirus came to America. Okay, so there have been 300,000 more deaths since this lockdown than in a comparable year without a lockdown. The report says 2/3 of those deaths can be attributed to COVID. So 1/3 of the people killed are killed by the lockdown, not by COVID. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Boy. I mean, look. What the world did, a bunch of media pundits and stuff, what they all did is they said, today we are going to go down to the clinic and we are going to get a whole bottle of stupid pills and we are going to down that whole bottle and we are going to persist in that state of being for the next multiple months. Right. I mean, the thing is, what's the most offensive thing that you could possibly see? Thank you, essential workers. They're not the ones who are suffering. They get to keep their jobs. They get to make money like normal. They get to pay the rent and have a family. What the people who are the heroes are the people who have been relegated to non-essential. My small business is only non-essential to you. It's not non-essential to me. It's not non-essential to my clients. The fact that the government has split the populace into essential people and non-essential people is kind of scary. Who are you talking about, Flow State? Me? So, the thing is, I don't want to, Eric Moore or Flow State, I don't want to say I'm an advocate of small government. I want to say I am an advocate of making the best most effective choices I can to improve the United States from the political position that I'm attempting to attain. Desert INTJ, I don't agree that there was some group of people who are thinking we're going to implement this lockdown because it's going to further our other agendas, that it's instrumental to something other than COVID stuff. In this case, we want to use Occam's razor. It makes much more sense that a bunch of hysterical people who were leaping at the opportunity to aggrandize a threat did so with hysteria, and then were married to their hysterical statements and had to spin shit a bunch to try to make it seem like it wasn't hysterical in the first place. Exactly, Freddie Forgiato. It is really like soothing to think that if we could just find the evildoers, we could solve the problems, right? The vast majority of problems are not sourced from evildoers. No, I don't think they have good intentions at this point. I think they're covering their own asses. I think they're clinging to their rock of wrongness till it drags them to the bottom of the ocean. Because that's what people do. That's what people do all the time. I see people doing it constantly. I mean, look, neither Republicans nor Democrats think themselves to want authoritarianism. What they think they want is something reasonable and acceptable. Okay? A lot of times, the thing that they think is reasonable and acceptable does, in fact, comprise authoritarianism. And in those instances, we have to check both those forces. On the other hand, it's also true that in some areas, positions that are broadly considered left are the most correct positions. And in some instances, positions that are broadly considered right are the most correct positions. So it's you really can't take a side and be a serious human being. You have to acknowledge that that a proper approach to policy doesn't feature agenda or team politics as a deciding factor. I don't think it's reasonable and well-meaning. I think it's motivated by fear and an overreaction to this panic in major tech companies that with this fake news thing and shit Facebook went through with the Russians and stuff like that. You get these sort of pendulum swings. They swing too hard pendulum one way in an attempt to solve a problem, and then they got to find the proper spot, Well, I mean, the thing is, at this point, Flow State, it is true that there are voices who are continuing to push for the same approach, the same failed thing. The definition of insanity is you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So we've already tried quarantining. It killed the economy. It harmed people's mental health and well-being. It divided the country. It created circumstances where there's all these riots and shit. And it didn't work. By all accounts, coronavirus, COVID is spreading like wildfire. The solution is not to try the same stupid idea we tried before again, only harder this time. We don't need to use the bigger hammer theory here. We need to step back and go, this is a lizard, not a dragon. We need to treat it as a lizard. For those who have an allergy to lizards, take extra precautions. The rest of us, we have, and those people too, the decision-making of our own to decide whether we want to put on a mask or whether we want to take precautions or not, or whether we just want to get it and say, fuck it. Like we would with any other cold, maybe. like I have my whole life. So, and that's the way that we deal with something like this. We understand that quarantines serve a specific purpose and not allow them to have mission creep. A quarantine is when you currently have a disease isolated in a given location. You quarantine the people in a location to stop that disease from spreading. Once the disease has spread, as COVID has, and is no longer quarantinable, in other words, you can no longer keep it isolated to a given area and stop it from spreading, then quarantines don't make any more sense. Additionally, the only context in which you should ever quarantine a healthy person is the one aforementioned. If there's a small geographical area where there's an outbreak of a sickness, you can quarantine everybody there, fine. But if we're not trying to geographically isolate something, then it is not acceptable to quarantine people who are healthy. In other words, the burden is on the parties who are saying you must stay home. They're asking me to prove a negative, that I'm not sick, that I'm safe to go out. That's not how shit works. That which is not explicitly forbidden is permitted, is a default rule of a free state. And the fact that we each get to make decisions about our own health and well-being is another fundamental principle. So while others may insist that it's critically important everybody wear masks because it's saving so many lives, the reality is, based on the data and the widespread contagion of COVID-19, despite these massive, unprecedented efforts, we should step back, cut our losses, not throw good money after bad and say, we were wrong. We took the wrong approach to this. We need to let it run its course and inform people and let them make their own decisions about what measures or countermeasures they want to take or not take. Maybe we need to protect the rights of people who are so scared of COVID that they need to, they say, well, I'm not going to go to work if anybody tests positive for COVID. Maybe we're going to have to make some accommodations or something like that. Fine, that's reasonable. But we have to change our frame of reference that this is not something that gets to be centrally controlled. Well, I mean, there's not a hidden agenda. It's a very open agenda, an idea that centralized control is a good way to manage societal problems. It's historically proven to be a rather poor way to manage societal problems, but it certainly is the conventional norm. I mean, flow states, I think you're overestimating the intelligence of people, and you're underestimating their willingness to go along with the bandwagon. For people like you and me with TI Tool, we're going to try to pick apart this bullshit. And if it seems like it's so shoddy bullshit that nobody could possibly have intended it to be anything but bullshit, if we have fourth slot NI, we're going to make the mistake of thinking there's some sort of hidden agenda there or conspiracy. That's simply not the case for a number of reasons. One, the various people who write about COVID, myriad different people writing articles in myriad different publications, do not all share the same perspective. They are advocating varying degrees of meow, and they're doing it for different reasons. There did come a moment early in COVID when the FE pressure to agree that COVID was a drag-in was so overwhelming that almost everybody toed the line. There were a few voices of dissent like me, but most people toed the line. But you got to remember, if this were a conspiracy, then these people are very bad at conspiring, because presumably they're going to anticipate that this is going to make the population more docile or something, or more controllable, or I'm not sure what their goal is particularly. Remember, everybody lost money on this. It's not like anybody really, maybe a couple of biochem companies, but there's no conceiving of a moneyed class willfully making this happen. It's been far too costly. Which authoritarian measures am I trying? What do you say I'm advocating for more of the same? So, yeah, disingenuous propaganda may be analogous. People in power conspire for mobilizing agendas to further their cause, which they believe in. And because they allow themselves to fall into a utilitarian framework, they go, and my bad behavior is justified by these good outcomes. And that's where evil comes into the world, you know? I am analyzing this in the right frame of reference. We're talking about an extremely chaotic and complex multivariate system with millions of different agents all gathering pieces of information from various sources and interpreting them independently. Now, granted, there are media organizations that probably wanted a certain slant versus another, and it wouldn't surprise me that the intelligentsia, which comprise primarily left-leaning writers that make up the bulk of the media writers, are going to do what most people do, which is think that they can determine political stuff based on the team or the affiliation rather than on calculating it actually in terms of okay, well, look, Flow State, the thing is, this is a very poor psyop. If it is a psyop, we have to agree with that. That it's generating increasing skepticism, and it's very unlikely that what's happening here is a boy who cried wolf phenomenon. If there were to come about now in the coming years an actual virus that does require us to take serious measures, something that's got a 20% fatality rate, right? People aren't going to believe it. People aren't going to believe it. With good reason. If all our psychologies are different, wouldn't we need different psyops? I mean, the thing about psyops is it foremost gets it gets most of its work done in baiting NI fourth people. So most conspiracy theory stuff is disinformation, probably put out by organizations that conspire that would like to muddy the story. If you've got a lot of crazy conspiracy theories, then the real conspiracy theory is going to get kind of mixed in with those, you know? So it's like, it's easy for somebody who has NI fourth or maybe NI eighth to read certain things, and their NI is going to shout something, and because it's you know, like fourth and eighth, they're kind of childish, you know, and so it's gonna grasp onto the whole, not understanding that this kind of system isn't subject to that kind of knowing. It's more category error than anything else. It's not like you're wrong that no, these things aren't happening. It's like you're wrong. You're applying this set of rules that works over here to this kind of thing, which doesn't work over here. I mean, okay, so Email Anthrax points out it's a very good psyop if it's a Chinese bioweapon. It would tell them what they need to know about how the USA would react to a real bioweapon, except, of course, people are an open system. So having reacted to this thing so poorly, people will react differently next time. How much you can predict that is questionable, you know? This isn't like an election where you go, okay, we can influence a bunch of people into voting for this candidate, and we're Russia, and you get the result you want, and that's it. It's a one and done. You get the result. You've won or you've lost your desired move you're making, right? But the difference between something like that and what we're talking about here when we're talking about COVID is there is no clear victory criterion on it. It's you have to presume that these vague goals of harming the general populace for reasons that are, kind of foggy and uncertain, and yet are nevertheless held uniformly by large enough groups of powerful people that they can actually implement this force of will upon the world. I mean, it just doesn't understand the nature of the systems you're dealing with. Antifa versus the Proud Boys. Well, see, this is exactly the sort of shit I want to put an end to, right? Look, Antifa people, your childish FI does not justify violence. Look, Proud Boys. It's like being, fighting fire with fire makes for bigger fires. It doesn't make for putting the fire out usually. It's kind of a crazy idea, really, fighting fire with fire. Like, if one half of my house was on fire, it wouldn't be a good idea to light the other half on fire and hope they meet in the middle and put each other out, because in the process, they will burn down my whole house. The point is that whenever you have a group that orients itself as opposing the enemy group and their wrongness, then of course you are making politics about people rather than policies. And that's always a recipe for disaster. It's groupism, and groupism never works. It's always trying to impose something on something that doesn't belong. It's bad mapping is what it is. It's poor mapping. You were making very salient points and they were all ignored. Were you? How many salient points did you make? You have to infer the motive from the results. When horrible outcomes do nothing to sway the advocacy of the methods, you have to consider there are ulterior motives. No, Legends Fall, that's exactly wrong. You shouldn't infer the motive from the results unless you have a single agent, right? So that's fine for crime. Like, if I'm going to infer, you're right. If Joe, really hyped up COVID, and we want to look into what Joe's motives were, and it turns out he owns a bunch of stock in a bio firm that's going to produce a vaccine for COVID, then we go, okay, there we go. We got it. We have to infer the motive here. You're right. That's because we're talking about an agent. But COVID is not about one person telling a story that we need to explain. It's not about one person's actions that we need to understand. It's about collective hysteria that has manifest in an environment that, one, was overactively pre-defensive against fake news, and two, over-anticipated that people were going to conspiracy theory this and try to prevent that, and in the process ended up shutting down legitimate critique on the matter that was absolutely cogent and should have been listened to at the time, namely what I was saying. And then we wouldn't be in this clusterfuck of a disaster. And so the basic problem then is the basic problem then is not that, it's not anything that anybody wants to say. It's that my voice isn't loud enough. That's the problem. Who would you bet is going to win this election? I actually think Trump's going to win it, Okay. I'll end this stream now. Let's chat, Octavio. Goodbye, everybody. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. It's been almost 3 hours, so that's a hearty live stream. 3 hours is long enough. I might be back later if I can't sleep. Good night. Goodbye. Sleep well. Don't forget to love your mother.